Cinemac is going to be huge. Are you in the zone? This is Britney Spears.
Lady, it's Larry! Your cousin Larry Gaga? You know that new sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this! Jesse Shade here for Awfully Good Movies on behalf of the JoBlo YouTube network. And I say it as sort of a compliment when I say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has sort of become like Taco Bell as it reaches its 17th year of existence. We both know that they make awful junk that's no good for society, but when you're there in the moment eating a chalupa with nacho fries, or watching Alan Cumming come back as Nightcrawler alongside a 97-year-old Ian McKellen, it is the most delicious thing you have ever had in your life. But that was certainly never the case with Sony's own universe of Marvel movies, that reached a new low in 2024 with a flick that made Morbius look like Nosferatu by comparison, in this spider-stunning episode of Awfully Good Movies. As much as some may wish for their cinematic universe to wrap things up already, Marvel Studios is not going out without a fight, with next summer bringing back Robert Downey Jr. in the role of Doctor Doom among the massive cast for Avengers Doomsday. And this summer marking the MCU debut for not just the Fantastic Four, but also Florence Pugh leading a ragtag group of anti-heroes from Marvel's past, known as the Thunderbolts. And with Marvel and Disney eager to bring back disillusioned filmgoers after the past few years of disappointment, it's a good thing that they no longer have to compete with Sony's legally distinct universe of Marvel characters, better known as the Spider-Man universe, whose ending last year was all but sealed after we saw Dakota Johnson go beyond the Spiderverse as Madam Webb. Even after Morbius turned Sony's Spiderverse into an internet punchline, they had yet another Spidey spin-off in the works, about the blind and paralyzed mutant who uses her precognitive powers to help Peter Parker see his future within the multiverse, played in her younger years by a post-50 Shades of Grey Dakota Johnson. But then came the movie's first trailer that spotlighted some cheap-ass costumes and the most hilariously clunky exposition dialogue since Val Kilmer in Top Secret.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders.
Who she'd last seen on a deserted island and who turned out 15 years later to be the leader of the French underground.
And then came a press tour which had Dakota Johnson barely hiding the contempt and confusion she had for her own movie.
To take this seriously.
And finally, the movie itself, which opened to some of the worst reviews and box office returns for a Marvel adaptation since Howard the Duck, which led to disappointing results for the Sonyverse's next two installments, which have now seemingly become their last. So since every other bad movie critic on YouTube has torn this flick apart in the year since its release, there is no better time for me to finally tackle the cinematic disaster that has helped to redefine superhero fatigue. And if any of you JoBlo viewers are somehow unfamiliar with this flick, then prepare to have everything you ever thought you knew about the Marvel Universe getting changed forever. Namely, how little a superhero movie can have actual superheroes in it and still legally be considered a superhero movie.
Take this seriously.
Now it's time to spike your Madam Web edition bottle of Ocean Spray with some vodka to play another round of the awfully good drinking game. Take a double shot when before the In Association with Marvel logo, you see the first appearance of the logo for Columbia Pictures' 100th anniversary, as if to make you even sadder that the studio which gave us Lawrence of Arabia, Taxi Driver, and The Master of Disguise has now come to this. Then our story opens in the Peruvian jungle, circa 1973. Where we find the fully pregnant Constance Webb indeed studying spiders in the Amazon, alongside her security guard, Ezekiel Sims, in the hopes of finding a specific spider whose bite may contain healing powers and superpowers.
The peptides in the spider's venom, they...
Take this seriously.
Only to soon find Ezekiel killing off her crew, and then Constance to steal the spider for himself. But just in time, she's saved by this jungle's fabled indigenous tribe of spider people dressed up in red paint and fishing nets known as Las Arañas, who have the dying woman bit by one of these spiders so as to save the life of her newborn daughter, Cassandra.
She will come back when she needs answers.
whom the tribe's leader immediately sends off to New York City as a foster kid, where she's now grown up as an ambulance driver in the year 2003 alongside her fellow paramedic, Ben Parker. Yes, that Ben Parker. Played by the great Adam Scott of Parks and Recreation and Severance. One of the best actors working in TV today, playing second fiddle to one of the least enthusiastic lead performances that I have ever seen in a major studio movie.
Ben, what are you even doing back there?
She's not going room temp on my watch. Hate to break it to you, Scrooge, but you can't change anything.
Oh, that sucks.
So Cassie leads a boring life alone in her apartment with only her mom's research notes to remember her by. But things will soon change when she and Ben try saving someone from a flipped-over car on the bridge that falls with Cassie inside to the water below, which triggers her dormant psychic powers that show her some clues to events happening later in the movie before Ben brings her back to the world of the living.
You need a real workup at a real hospital with a real doctor. You need a real workup at a real hospital with a real doctor.
Deja vu.
So in other words, the movie found a way to stretch out to 2 hours by repeating every other scene twice in a row with this ADHD as hell editing and diffusing any dramatic tension as a result. Not that there's much dramatic tension when Cassie and Ben head off to a barbecue held by their co-worker O'Neill, named after Madame Webb co-creator Dennis O'Neill, played by Mike Epps, which also serves as a blatant product placement for Pepsi Cola.
And that's just really sad.
As well as a baby shower for Ben's sister-in-law, Mary Parker, the future mother of Peter, played by Emma Roberts.
Ben is so excited about being an uncle.
Oh, what a sly reference to Ben's future as a black rice mascot. Any chance that they'll refer to the future Spider-Man that's inside Mary Parker's belly?
Guess the name of Mary's baby. Sam.
Nope, the name is...
No, of course not. Because Kevin Feige is off-screen with Disney's lawyers popping these balloons with a pin. God forbid we can ever mention Peter Parker, even though we're part of a franchise called the Spider-Man universe. Sadly, Cassie's predictive powers can only go so far, as she's unable to save Mike Epps from meeting his quick demise in an unintentionally hilarious ambulance crash.
This is O'Neill. Clear up dockside.
O'Neill, come on!
Quick, somebody call this man an Oh, right. Looks like this poor guy just saw his last Friday. Also having visions of the future is the barely older-looking Ezekiel Sims, played again by French actor Tahar Rahim, most of whose performance here was obviously dubbed in post-production by what sounds like a dub actor from a 70s kung fu movie.
You have no idea of the torment and torture of dying, but in the future, they have powers, and they will try to destroy me.
And while he's in bed with an NSA agent played by Jill Hennessy of Law & Order and RoboCop 3, he tells her of his dreams of being beaten and killed by a trio of female superheroes with spider powers, whom we have previously seen in present day as teenage girls running into Cassie, made up of Celeste O'Connor as the wealthy but rebellious Maddie Franklin, who may or may not be the niece of a certain Daily Bugle publisher.
My Uncle Jonah can totally help us. I'm gonna call him. Hey!
Isabella Merced as the intelligent Anya Corazon, who's living on her lonesome after her father's been deported. And Sydney Sweeney, trying to hide those very adult boobs of hers, as the awkward Julia Cornwall, known in the comics as Julia Carpenter, whose future superhero outfits look about as dignified as that of Jeff Bezos' spaceflight crew, but for whom Ezekiel has made it his life's work to take down while they're still powerless teenagers, by murdering the NSA agent with his poisonous spider touch, and taking her facial recognition software to help his hacker assistant, played uselessly by Zosha Mamet of HBO's Girls and Peacock's Laid, track down these three girls just as they board the same train together, where Cassie happens to be as well to predict these girls' fatal future and pull a final destination by getting them off the train from Ezekiel.
What exactly is this emergency?
That's your emergency.
Who is then seen crawling on the walls in a stupid-looking spider costume of his very own. Look at this asshole. He looks like Peter Parker in that night monkey costume from Far From Home, but if he had Aunt May help him bundle it up for the winter. So Cassie steals some dude's cab for her and these girls so she can keep them safe from Ezekiel in the most logical way possible, by driving them way out in the middle of the woods and telling them to stay right there for the next few hours with nothing except some beef jerky from the glove compartment while she drives home to look over her dead mom's spider notes.
Just stay here and don't do anything dumb.
Oh, she didn't see that coming?
And what do these dumb teenage girls do? Why, of course, wander off in the woods so they can head to a diner they saw up the road.
You will not like me when I'm hangry.
Where they immediately get tracked down by Ezekiel as they eat everything off the diner's menu and flirt at a table with some cute boys, then proceeding to dance atop their table with all the rhythm of the Peanuts gang to the tune of Britney Spears' then recent pop hit, Toxic. You get it? Like the villain's fingers are?
Don't even pretend that you're cooler than Britney.
In one of this movie's many awkward allusions to this being set in the year 2003.
I just want to go home and watch Idol.
It's so sad about Martha Stewart.
Makes sense for a superhero movie so bad that it feels like it would have been made not in 2003, but in 1983. But here comes Cassie to save the day by ramming her stolen taxi through the diner's front door, and then giving a good talking to these goddamn kids today.
You're so impulsive and entitled, and you don't listen. Don't even say anything.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, you should be so sorry.
As a complete stranger who kidnapped you 3 girls and left you out in the woods for several hours, how dare you disobey me? I'll have you know that I happen to be the daughter of the man who played Detective Crockett Tubbs on Miami Bridges.
It's noticeably hard to make a Sass Factory superhero movie when your 4 leads aren't even superheroes yet. Where the most these ladies can do to prepare to face off against our poison-fingered bad guy is Cassie teaching these girls how to perform CPR to save themselves from his poison.
Okay, begin compressions. Go. Good. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Nice job on you.
Yes, who needs an exciting montage of our heroes preparing for battle or making a game plan against the villain when we could instead have a CPR lesson like we're learning how to work at a Wendy's?
So you do know this guy?
My mom did. All I know is that she was researching spiders.
Oh, and the line that we were all expecting from the trailer isn't in the final movie? Of course it wasn't, because life is just unfair. Yet even with the cops still on her trail for kidnapping these kids, Cassie hands the 3 girls over to her pal Ben while she flies all the way to Peru in a Cessna plane, just so she can get in touch with the now less ridiculous-looking leader of Las Arañas, named Santiago.
I don't understand why she risked my life to come here.
You have to heal the wounds of your past.
Who is able to separate Cassie's soul from her body like this is Doctor Strange or Beverly Hills Ninja to enter a higher plane of consciousness, where she finds out that her dead mother was seeking this spider not for fame or fortune, but to cure her infant daughter of the hereditary disease that her mom suffered from.
I'm unwilling to accept a diagnosis of helplessness.
You did it. You did it.
You did it! And now with Cassie emotionally making up with her ghost mom, Santiago can let her head back home with a familiar-sounding piece of advice.
When you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Oh, that sucks.
Are you shitting me, Sony? Not only is this movie suggesting that Uncle Ben got the most famous catchphrase in Spider-Man history from a misquote given to him by a friend of his, but it sounds like it was generated by a shitty AI program that misquotes the most famous quotes in movie history. You can't pull on the tooth! I'm gonna propose a question that I won't say no to. Honestly, sweetie, I couldn't give 2 shits. Then Cassie soon arrives back in New York, driving the same stolen taxi she had left at the airport, only to find the 3 Spider Girls have gone off to the hospital alongside Ben and Mary, now that she's going into labor with her spider baby.
Ew.
Well, honestly,
How can Madame Webb possibly save Ben and these girls from the wrath of Spider-Man's non-union French equivalent? Why with yet another stolen vehicle being driven through a building like she's the goddamn Blues Brothers?
We're on a mission from God.
I feel about as lost with this crap as Dakota Johnson did during its production. as she infamously agreed to this movie thinking it was a part of the Disney MCU, fired her agent right after the first trailer became a social media laughingstock, and saw Sony executives drastically changing the script from its original concept of Ezekiel Sims trying to kill Tom Holland's Peter Parker by taking out his mother before Peter's birth, i.e. the Terminator. All because Sony didn't think audiences would accept Tom Holland popping up in a non-MCU movie, even though him being in the second Venom movie for only 10 seconds helped to make millions more at the box office. So instead, the final showdown between Ezekiel and the Spider-Women takes place over at the same abandoned fireworks factory seen earlier in the movie that Milhouse is always crying about, where they distract him with some lit fireworks going off while they try evacuating off the roof onto a medical evac helicopter right next to a huge sign for the delicious taste of Pepsi-Cola. But after Ezekiel takes out the helicopter, how can Cassie save these spider babies from Ezekiel's venomous grasp?
You can't save all three!
Actually, no, that's not the truth.
Take on the responsibility. Great power will come.
Yes, she remembers that misphrased catchphrase once more and uses her mind to psychically project herself to these girls' rescue. I guess that's a superpower that Madam Webb has.
You've been trying to change your future, but the girls were never your future. I was.
Who do you think you are? I am!
And that's when poor Zeke Sims falls to his death for real at the hands of a giant Pepsi sign. Curse you, Madam Webb! I have been defeated by the joy of cola! As for Cassie, she breaks her legs in the fall below and gets blighted by one of the fireworks underwater before getting rescued by the girls with their recently taught CPR skills, and just so happens to be treated in the same hospital where Mary Parker has just given birth to the boy who will soon be known as Monsieur Webb. Then we cut some time later now that Cassie's been discharged from the hospital with a snazzy Professor X wheelchair and a tacky pair of red glasses she stole from her grandma, now serving as a surrogate mom and mentor to these three parentless teenagers before they too get bit by a multicolored spider from the Amazon.
Can you see us in the future?
I can see you.
And in Cassie's final visions of the future, we not only see reused footage from Spider-Man 2, but the last remaining seconds of footage of the fully powered and costumed Spider-Women, who were used to completely misrepresent this movie's marketing campaign, and now standing alongside the future Madam Webb in what looks like a latex disco jumpsuit and an even stupider pair of grandma glasses, reinserted into a shot that was used earlier in the movie.
And you know the best thing about the future? It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and you know what else hasn't mercifully happened yet? A sequel to Madam Webb, with no stingers in the end credits, and no further installments to come from this Sony Spiderverse, where we would have gotten Dakota Johnson and Jared Leto in the Marvel crossover to end them all.
I'm listening.
Spider-Man hears Spider-Man, and he's back. And the other one, the last one is...
Intriguing.
Harry, Spider-Man, and the Goblet of Man.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
Madam Webb was the feature directorial debut for television director S.J. Clarkson, who, in addition to looking more like Madam Webb than Dakota Johnson did, also directed some episodes for Marvel TV shows, and certainly tries adding some style with her topsy-turvy camera work and time-hopping editing. But between the nonsensical script rewritten by the same writing duo who gave us Morbius, the lackluster special effects work, and Dakota Johnson's sigh of a performance leading a cast of other talented actors who'd rather be anywhere else than here, Madam Webb is a laughably lazy endgame for a franchise that has only ever existed for Sony to exploit a legal loophole, which is what largely makes it an enjoyable kind of bad that Morbius and Kraven the Hunter could only hope to achieve. So while Sony's former CEO may insist that Madam Webb is a perfectly fine movie that just got crucified by the critics and audiences who've gotten tangled up in Madam Webb's convoluted web of superhero bullshit would certainly beg to differ. Not to worry though, Sony's Spider-Man universe may soon have better luck on the TV screen with its upcoming Spider Noir show, starring a man who could teach Dakota Johnson a thing or two in the acting department. Nicholas freaking Cage!
I love it.
On the enjoyableness continuum scale from Bull to Bruce, Madam Webb will have you wishing Doctor Strange would seal off those portals to the multiverse already, and sees in its distant future a 5 out of 10. Madam Webb doesn't do whatever a spider. Keb? I'm Jesse Shade for the JoBlo YouTube network, and thanks again for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the JoBlo Awfully Good Movies channel. Tell all your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all our latest videos. We are an independent company that appreciates all of your support. And after having to sit through this movie again, there is only one superhero who I want brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Let's not mention that to anybody.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.